When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious
Hey guys, sorry about the technical error there. I thought I was actually broadcasting at some point, but it turns out it wasn't going out. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me today on the Big Nerd Kids Quiz. For everyone who was playing the James Bond quiz last night, thank you very much for turning up for that one. It was really, really good. If you haven't, please do watch it. It's a really, really good quiz. And even if you're not a James Bond fan, I think there's something there for everybody. But anyway, thank you very much for joining me here today. I hope you guys are staying safe. The weather here's not that great at the moment, so I kind of figured like we'll put together a really good quiz for you guys today to keep you, give you something to do during the rain times. Like I said before, as always, there are two ways to take part in today's quiz. You can either take part by opening the Google Doc in the link to the YouTube description below. You can also take part with a pencil and paper. There are 6 questions with 6 rounds each. All you have to do is answer the questions as I read them out. I'll give you all the answers at the very end of the quiz. And if you want a shout out at any point in the quiz, just give the Facebook page a wee message and I'll see if I can give you a shout out. Thank you very much for joining me here today. And like I said before, I hope you're all staying safe. If you don't know it already, I'm actually up every morning doing a brand new radio show on the Zest FM station. That's Zest FM online, zestfm.co.uk. And you can listen to the Mark Hughes Breakfast Show every morning from 7 till 10. Actually wrote today's quiz whilst I was presenting the show itself, so hope you all enjoy it. So do check that out, and there's loads of other really great shows on that station as well. Don't forget, you can catch up with any of the other quizzes that we've done over the past couple of weeks. We're on week 14, I believe. I think today is actually the 3rd month of me doing these quizzes, and it's an absolute pleasure doing them. Tons of quizzes coming up. Like I said, there's Star Wars and 80s and 90s and everything like that. We've got the 2000s quiz for all you millennials out there. Perhaps you were born in the year 2000, but yeah, we're playing the 2000s quiz this week on Wednesday, tomorrow the 24th at 8 p.m. and we're nearly done with the month. It's hard to believe that we've flown through June. But don't forget, there's Father Ted quiz, music, Simpsons, and there's the horror movie quiz. Don't think that's going to be for kids, but Pokemon one will definitely be. And I know there's loads of wrestling fans out there amongst you guys, so do check those quizzes out as well. I'll be adjusting times according to football schedules as well, so do keep an eye on the Facebook page. It'll be one of those things. I'm thinking of even doing the kids quiz on Facebook from now on and not YouTube. So I am considering switching just to test it out. And I normally use the kids quiz to test new things out. But yes, thank you very much for joining me today. Don't forget, you can actually buy BigNerdPubQuiz merchandise from the NorthernIronTees.com. It's a fantastic website. And you can support the quiz on PayPal and Patreon. So like I said, the quiz is always free to play, but I'm really appreciative of all the support I've been getting over the last couple of weeks. Anyway, so let's kick off today's Big Nerd Kids Quiz. Let's waste no more time and get straight into it. Our first round today, as always, is always going to be general knowledge. And today's general knowledge quiz, like I said, 6 questions. I'll read out every option for every question, so you guys will have a good idea of what's coming up. Okay, if you're not playing with the Google Doc, so don't worry. If you're playing with pen and paper, I will give you all 4 options that the guys on the Google Doc are getting as well. So don't worry, and you can always tot up your scores. Let me know how you got on, and follow and like and subscribe all the different social media channels here on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Alright, so let's kick today's quiz off. Round 1, question number 1 for you guys. And it's all about the Greek alphabet. Now, yes, this is an interesting one. What is the last letter of the Greek alphabet? So what is the last letter of the Greek alphabet? You're probably wondering to yourself, Greek alphabet? There's a Greek alphabet? Yes, there is. There's a multitude of different language systems out there. As you'll know, you'll see Cyrillic script being used in Russian, and you'll see obviously the Asian script, like the Chinese characters. Japanese is actually made up of 3 different types of alphabets, which is really mad. There's like a traditional form, modern form, very, very cool. But yes, the Greek alphabet, and it provides a lot of different. The Greek alphabet itself is used a lot in English language to substitute various letters. But I'm looking for the last letter of the Greek alphabet. Is it delta, omega, alpha, or gamma? You'll recognize those terms, but yes, they come from the Greek alphabet. And it's the Greek alphabet is actually the alphabet which most Latin language alphabets are based on. So, delta, omega, alpha, or gamma? What's the last letter of the Greek alphabet? Round 1, question 2. Ooh, I'm zoomed in there. I'll bring myself back to normal size. So round 1, question 2. How many zeros are there in 1,000? Alright. Should be fairly straightforward, that one. But round 1, question 2. How many zeros are there in 1,000? Is it 4, 3, 5, or 6? 4 options there. It's one of those things, when you add a 0 to like 1, the number gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But how many zeros are there in 1,000? Alright, moving on to the next question. Your options there for that one, 4, 3, 5, or 6. Your next one, round 1, question 3. What date does Bonfire Night fall in the UK? Now, what's Bonfire Night? A lot of people don't celebrate it over here in Ireland, but it's primarily celebrated in England, and basically it commemorates the night that there was a supposed plot to blow up the Houses of Parliament. It was led by Guy Fawkes, and it happened on a particular date. But I'm looking for that particular date. There's a rhyme that goes with it, if you can remember it as well. Remember that something. You got 4 options there: 11th of November, 1st of November, 5th of November, or 31st of October. So try to remember the rhyme for that one. So round 1, question 3. What date does Bonfire Night fall in the UK? Round 1, question number 4. I'm sure a lot of you guys will get this one. But what is the name of Dora the Explorer's pet monkey? So Dora the Explorer, the bilingual traveler and explorer. She's got a great life. She gets to go to all these mad countries. But I'm looking for the name of her pet monkey. Is it Tibbs, Boots, Ham, or Barney? Those are your 4 options there. Dora the Explorer, I think a little bit after my time. You guys definitely would have played it. But yes, Dora the Explorer. What is the name of Dora the Explorer's pet monkey? Is it Tibbs, Boots, Ham, or Barney? Don't worry if I'm going too fast. I will always repeat the questions at the very end of the round, and I'll try to read them out at least twice with the options twice, okay? So round 1, question 5, another one about digits and numbers. But how many years are there in a millennium? Funny enough, we started the second millennium 20 years ago. Hard to believe. But we're in the second one. You know, in the Gregorian calendar. Okay, what's the Gregorian calendar? The Gregorian calendar is the calendar we use. 12 months. That's how it works. And we base it off is a biblical calendar. It's a modern biblical calendar. Based on Christianity, there are multiple calendars in Islam and Judaism, Taoism and everything like that, but we use the Gregorian calendar in the Western world. But how many years are there in a millennium? 500, 1,000, 200, or 2,000? You've seen that term, that prefix there, milli. What does that mean? You said a millipede. You've got centipedes. You've got millipedes. But milli, again, a Latin prefix. Is it 500, 1,000, 2,000, or 200? Round 1, question 5. I'm moving on to the final one. Round 1, question 6. And I had the questions about this the other day. Who is the patron saint of Wales? Interestingly, we put these questions up. We were asking the various saints' days. And each country in the United Kingdom has most countries actually have a patron saint. And Ireland is St. Patrick, as you know. Andrew is Scotland. George is England. Denis, or Denis, is France, actually. James is Spain. But who is the patron saint of Wales? And they celebrate his feast day, or his celebration day, which is the national holiday of Wales, or the day of celebration for Wales, on the 1st of March, the day before my birthday. Is it St. Barry, St. James, St. Paul, or St. David? Now, sometimes saints do have two, but I'm looking for the name, the patron saint of Wales. Is it St. Barry, St. Barry, St. James, St. David, or St. Paul? It's round 1, question number 6. And we'll have a quick roundup there of the first round of questions. Go through them one more time. What is the last letter of the Greek alphabet? Number 2, how many zeros are there in 1,000? 3, what date does Bonfire Night fall on in the UK? 4, what is the name of Dora the Explorer's pet monkey? 5, how many years are there in a millennium? And 6, who is the patron saint of Wales? All right, well, we're back again, so we're going to move on to the second round. The second round is all going to be about very, very basic questions, very straightforward questions that you all should know, and science and nature. Let's get my funky little graphic back up there again. I love using that. Okay, so the next series of questions are all about science and nature. We want you to just basically answer them and get the right answers. So here we go. Very straightforward. Round 2, question number 1. What is the orange bit in the middle of the egg called? How do you like yours cooked, though? I don't know. Is it poke, folk, bulk, or yolk? I think it's fairly straightforward, that one. But round 2, question 1. What is the orange bit in the middle of the egg called? Poke, yolk, folk, or bulk. Don't worry if those options are different on your Google Docs, because basically a lot of the times I've actually set it up so that the answers are always randomized. You know what the most difficult thing about writing these questions are? It's not coming up with the right answers. It's coming up with the wrong ones. That is even more difficult than you can imagine. But round 2, question 1. I'm looking for the name of the orange bit in the middle of an egg. What is that called? Okay, round 2, question 2. What is the collective name for trees that keep their leaves all year round? Got a couple of options for you. Is it ash, deciduous, oak, or evergreen? So a collective noun for trees that keep their leaves all year round. You notice that some trees, right now, it's all lovely and lush and green. And then during the winter, during the autumn, they turn yellow and brown. And then they fall off in the winter when the wind blows them away. And then they reappear in the spring. But I'm not looking for the name of those trees. I'm looking for the name of the ones that keep their leaves all year round. And I think it might be fairly obvious in terms of the description there. Is it oak, deciduous, evergreen, or ash? So round 2, question 2. Round 2, question 3. There's only 2 options for this one. Well, which travels faster? Light or sound? Those are your 2 options there. Now think of a firework, okay? If you think of a firework, when it explodes, you see the light, and then you hear the sound. And it depends if the fireworks are like really far away. Say if you're watching them across, you know, a lake or something like that. You will see it, and then you hear it. But which travels faster, light or sound? Interestingly, we can actually travel faster than the speed of sound, and that was broken in 1947 by a pilot called Chuck Yeager. And first ever plane, and the plane was called Bell X-1, like the band. But yes, and we had Concords and fighter jets, and they all fly faster than and rockets obviously fly faster than the speed of sound. We haven't got the light yet, but which travels faster, light or sound? Anyway, round 2, question 4. What type of fish is Nemo in the famous Disney Pixar movie? I've got 4 options for you here. So what type of fish is Nemo? Cod, clownfish, tuna, or haddock? I've seen. I went to an aquarium in Toronto, and they had a big tank full of them. It's probably the most popular thing everyone was going to see. Not the sharks, not the stingrays. But yes, these little type of Nemos, if everyone was calling them. So yes, I'm looking for the name of the type of fish that Nemo is in the Pixar movie. Is it cod, haddock, clownfish, or tuna? That's round 2, question 4. Moving on, round 2, question number 5. How many planets are there in our solar system? I might have asked you this one previously, but see if you remember. So officially, how many planets? Now remember, one used to be a planet, now it's not. And it used to be what was known as a mnemonic to remember all the names of the planets. It was like, it's kind of like a little rhyme. That's what a mnemonic is. But is it 8, 9, 11, or 12? How many planets? Official planets now. If I had my way, the planet that wasn't a planet, I think it should be a planet. But round 2, question 5. How many planets are in our solar system? 8, 9, 11, or 12? Okay. If you can remember the mnemonic, it's like my very evil mother just served Uncle Noel poison. You might be able to work it out, but minus one of those. Anyway, round 2, question 6. And here's something I actually learned today. I didn't know this one. But what is a female swan called? We all know their little babies are called cygnets. I used to see them in the canal. But is it a chick, a fern, a wisp, or a pen? I'm looking for the name of female swan. What is the name of a female swan called? A chick, a fern, a wisp, or a pen? And swans are actually extremely good parents. Like they raise their young and keep them with them for quite a long time. And I actually, when I was cycling up and down the Regent's Canal in London, I would see a family of swans together all the time. And it was just fascinating every day watching them grow up. But yes, beautiful creatures. But what is a female swan called? A chick, a pen, a fern, or a wisp? And there is your final, there's your roundup there of quiz questions for round 2. So what's the orange bit in the middle of an egg called? Number 2, the collective name for trees that keep their leaves all year round. 3, which travels faster, light or sound? 4, what type of fish is Nemo? 5, how many planets are in our solar system? And 6, what is a female swan called? Alright, that is your science and nature round done for this afternoon. Right, if you still want a wee shout out at any point in the quiz, do get in touch with me. The best way to do it is via the Facebook Messenger, or you can leave me a message on Twitter. Let me know where you're playing and how you're getting on, and if you're enjoying it, if you've any feedback, let me know via the hashtag BigNerdPubQuiz, and I'll see if I can include a round about something. Like, I remember there was somebody asking me to do a question about Sonic the Hedgehog. And I did a question which was basically like, what type of creature is Sonic the Hedgehog? And then I realized I've written that completely wrong. Anyway, thank you very much for playing this afternoon. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves and staying safe. And we're going to move on to our next round. So we've gone for science and nature, and this one is all about geography. Yes, geography, a very, very popular subject. If you're into your travel, if you're into your kind of history of the world in a way, if you're into like how things work and geology and everything like that, that's all covered in geography. But anyway, so here we go. Round 3, question number 1. And another question about Wales. Round 3, question number 1. What animal is on the Welsh flag? It probably is the coolest flag. If you watch the rugby, you'll definitely see it. But what animal is in the Welsh flag? Is it lion, unicorn, dragon, or elephant? It's a really cool flag, I have to say. And the Welsh are fantastic. When we play them in the rugby, it's all like, fierce battles, but it's all good fun afterwards. So maybe you're playing from Wales, who knows? Anyway, so is it lion, dragon, unicorn, or elephant? What animal is on the Welsh flag? Round 3, question 2. In which continent would you find the Amazon rainforest? So, which continent would you find the Amazon rainforest? It's an absolutely huge, the largest rainforest in the world. And a lot of people consider it, scientists consider it to be almost like the Earth's lungs, because, as you know, trees they take in carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. And there's a lot of deforestation happening in Brazil, where this is. And that might give you a clue. But anyway, which continent would you find the Amazon rainforest? South America, Asia, Africa, or North America? Big clue there, I guess, give you. But in which continent would you find the Amazon rainforest? Asia, South America, Africa, or North America? Round 3, question 3. These are the questions about extremities. What are extremities? Well, extremities are basically the kind of like the tops and the ends, the highest, the lowest, the widest, the biggest. But in which county in England is Land's End? Land's End, if you look at Great Britain, a map of Great Britain, it's the most southerly point. And when I mean Great Britain, I mean the main island, which contains Wales, England, and Scotland, the most southerly point, all the way down at the bottom. But in which English county is Land's End? That's the very, very bottom. Is it Devon, Exeter, Cornwall, or Sussex? And a lot of people, they do a challenge where they go from Land's End to another place, but that's coming up in another question. Round 3, question 3. A lot of people do races or drives or challenges when they go from one place to another. It's a very, very popular thing to do. But in which county is in England is Land's End? And that brings us very nicely on to our fourth question here. What is the most northern point in mainland Britain called? And as you can guess, it's in Scotland. It's all the way off the tip of Scotland. So yes, the entire length of the island itself. Is it Paddlebarn, Pete O'Mile, John O'Groats, Tim O'Vine? So you might have heard the term from Land's End to... So that might give you a clue there, but what is the most northern point of mainland Britain called? Is it Paddlebarn, Tim O'Vine, John O'Groats, Pete O'Mile? So, could be any of those. And like I said, people do big challenges. I think on Top Gear they did a thing where Richard Hammond raced a parcel or a letter from Land's End to this particular place to see if he could beat it. That's round 3, question 4. Round 3, question 5. Little capital city one here. Oh, have I mixed those up? Oh, no. I've mixed these up. Okay, wait a second. I'm going to type this one out. What is the largest island? What is the largest Greek island? There we are. That's it. That's meant to be the question. So, round 3, question 5. What is the largest Greek island? Now, Greece is a country in kind of southern Mediterranean, very, very warm, very hot. Cradle of Western civilization, democracy, and philosophical thought came from there. A lot of Greek myths and legends. And yes, it's made up of like loads of, it's like a massive archipelago made up of loads of tiny islands, and you may have gone there on your holidays because it's a great place to go and get some suntan. But I'm looking for the largest Greek island. What is the largest Greek island? Is it Corfu, Crete, Mykonos, or Rhodes? So round 3, question 5. I'm looking for the name of the largest Greek island. Mykonos, Corfu, Crete, or Rhodes? And yes, you can all still visit these. And these names all pop up in ancient Greek legend. So that's round 3, question 5. And this is the correct one. You got a little bit of a sneak peek of it there. Round 3, question 6. What's the capital city of the Czech Republic? Is it Bratislava, Budapest, Vienna, or Prague? So Czech Republic is actually a country in the middle of Europe. It's very pretty. The capital city is very, very pretty as well. It's got beautiful bridges and beautiful castles. And it actually used to be 2 countries. It used to be one large country, Czech Republic, and Slovakia used to be Czechoslovakia. And then in the middle of the 90s, had a referendum, and there was like a peaceful, it was called the Velvet Divorce. So there was a peaceful separation of the 2 countries. Because they were both kind of forced to go together and they weren't really meant to. And anyway, so they're both countries coexist side by side. And I've been to all of these cities that I've mentioned. But which one of those is the capital of the Czech Republic? Is it Budapest, Bratislava, Vienna, or Prague? And there's your geography roundup there. So which animal is in the Welsh flag? Which continent would you find the Amazon rainforest? What county in England is Land's End? What is the most northern point of mainland Britain called? It's the largest Greek island called. And what is the capital city of the Czech Republic? Alright, thanks very much for playing. Don't forget, if you want a shout out at any point during the quiz, let me know. Use the hashtag BigNerdPubQuiz and get in touch. Just to let you know, we're coming up to the halfway point in the quiz. We've got loads more stuff coming up this week. And if you're about, do check out these quizzes that we have lined up for you. Tomorrow we're doing the Big Nerd 2000s quiz. Live on YouTube. And I spent ages putting this together. Actually, I get a kick out of designing all these things. Like if you watch the James Bond quiz, I did all the graphics for that. But yes, I spent a very, very nostalgic night in front of my computer on Photoshop making this. I'm just trying to think of big pop culture moments from the 2000s and who could I include in there. How many can you name that you can see there? Well, we've got loads and loads and loads of people who were famous in that era. Some of them are still knocking about today. Some of them are still famous. Some of them are kind of faded. You can see various memes and albums and TV shows that we all like there. But that is coming up on the 24th there. And if you're into Pokemon or wrestling, we've got quizzes coming up. I'm going to put the Pokemon one on the 1st of July. And that's coming up next Wednesday. But do check that out. Don't forget, you can buy merchandise from Big Nerd Pub Quiz itself, or Big Nerd Pub Quiz t-shirts as well, in loads of different colours and sizes. And don't forget to check out my radio show every weekday from 8 a.m. on Zest FM. It's really good. It's lots and lots of really cool 80s music. Anyway, our next questions today, all about, as you can see in your answer sheet, it's all about history and politics. Yes, history and politics. Basic questions about history and politics. It's one of those things I got into kind of watching politics when I was very, very young during the 97 election. And it was one of those things you'd be surprised how much kids know when they pick up and just watching the news. But yes, here's some basic starter questions about history and politics to get you going and to test how much you know about the UK political system. So round 4, question number 1. In the Houses of Parliament in the UK, which chamber traditionally has red seats? Now I've got 2 options for you there. Is it the House of Lords or the House of Commons? So to explain, the Parliament in the UK is basically made, it's a bicameral set up. We've got two systems. We've got two houses, and one makes the laws. The government proposes the laws. The government debates the laws in the House of Commons, and the bill moves. So that's that legislation known as a bill, and the bill moves. It's debated a couple of times. It's read. It's debated. Then it's sent over to another house, the House of Lords, and the House of Lords are actually unelected, but they're appointed, and they all basically they see whether if the bill is fit to go and become law, and that's how it works. That's why we have two different separate houses. The most one you see normally on TV is the House of Commons, but the House of Lords as well. It's the one in the other side. It's very, very grand. But which of those has red seats? Is it the House of Lords or the House of Commons? And you can actually, if you actually call your MP, if you're ever in London, you can actually arrange to get a tour from your MP, and they'll bring you in and show you about. So yes, do consider that. Round 4, question number 2. What is the name of the Downing Street cat? Again, not as political, but it's one of those things. You see this particular cat, this little feline, it's the official mouser of the government. And yes, it has a name, and it's very, very popular. Especially, it has its own Twitter feed as well, so do check that out. Is it Norman, Larry, Boris, or Steve? So I'm looking for the name of the Downing Street cat. Steve, Larry, Norman, or Boris? This is round 4, question 2. Round 4, question 3. So which political party in England uses the colour yellow to identify itself? Is it Labour, the Liberal Democrats, the Conservatives, or the Greens? Now, it's probably your guessing the Greens probably wouldn't use yellow, so you can probably eliminate that one straight away. Another party up in Scotland use yellow as well, the Scottish National Party. They use yellow as an identifier. But in England, there's 3 main political parties. Well, 2 now if you think about it. But anyway, 3 main political parties, and which uses yellow to identify itself? Is it the Greens? Probably not. Is it Labour? Is it the Conservatives? Or is it the Liberal Democrats? So, round 3, question 4. And yes, like a lot of colours signify a lot of different things in politics. And yes, that's why they're very important. And that's why a lot of these parties have politics. And when you watch elections and referendums, you see big maps, and they're all coloured in different, and that shows you which constituency voted for which party. Alright, so round 4, question number 4 coming up now, and it is... So I'm looking for the name of the person who's in charge of keeping order in the House of Commons. Now, you may have seen this chap during debates in that place. I mean, everything is a little bit rowdy, and he goes, "Order, order!" But who is that? What's he called? Or he or she? Who are they called? What's their official title? They actually get to live in a little house near Parliament and everything. They get a lot of duties. And they technically have to be an MP. And they after that, they become neutral. They're not allowed to technically represent their constituency politically. So once they do get elected, and they're generally always taken from the ranks of someone of a well-respected member of Parliament. Yes, so... what is the name of the person who is in charge of keeping order in the House of Commons? Is it Black Rod, the Lord Chief Justice, the Judge, or the Speaker? And you'll see this fella sits on top on like a throne type of... It's not a throne as such, but it's a very, very prominent seat. And he or she organizes the order of debates and who gets to speak. And if you have to speak, you have to speak through this person. I'm not going to say it. But is it the Black Rod, the Judge, the Speaker, or the Lord Chief Justice? And I always remember, order, order. Anyway, round 4, question 5. Who was the Prime Minister of the UK at the beginning of the 21st century? So basically, I'm asking you, who was the Prime Minister 20 years ago? One of the longest serving Prime Ministers, nearly 10 years, over 10 years. But who was the Prime Minister of the UK at the very beginning of the 20th century? Is it Theresa May, David Cameron, Tony Blair, or Gordon Brown? So there's a little bit of a history one there for you. Round 4, question 5. Who was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom at the beginning of the 21st century? Theresa May, Gordon Brown, Tony Blair, or David Cameron? And finally, a little bit going way back for this one, but how many wives did King Henry VIII have? Yes, King Henry VIII, not really content with having the one. Anyway, did he have 9, 8, 6, or 4? You might remember a little rhyme to remember how they met their fates, really. Yeah, Henry VIII. No, it didn't really suffer fools gladly, that man. But I'm looking for how many wives did Henry VIII have? 8, 9, 6, or 4? Is that the reason why he's called Henry VIII? Think about it. Or maybe not. Anyway, here's your roundup of history and politics questions for Big Nerd Kids Quiz. Go through them one more time. So, in the Houses of Parliament in the UK, which chamber traditionally has red seats? Number 2, what is the name of the Downing Street cat? Number 3, which political party in England uses the colour yellow to identify itself? 4, what is the name of the person who is in charge of keeping order in the House of Commons? 5, who was Prime Minister of the UK at the beginning of the 21st century? And finally, how many wives did King Henry VIII have? Alright, so there's your history and politics questions all wrapped up here. 2 more rounds to go here on the Big Nerd Kids Quiz. Hope you're all enjoying yourself and staying safe. And we'll move on to our next round, and it's all about sports. And if you're anything like me, you must be very, very excited that the football's back. Very, very happy about that, but I'm a West Ham fan, so it's not been great for us. We got beaten at home by Wolves. They're a very, very strong side. And if you're a Liverpool fan, I'm sure I'm feeling for you. But, you know, they're really dragging it out, this whole winning the Premier League. You know, they could have wrapped it up there. They could have wrapped it up there and lessened the wait. But it'll have to be another couple of days until Liverpool actually win the league. But to ask you about those kind of sporty questions there. So who scored the first goal at the return of the Premier League season? Who scored the very first goal? I asked the adults this one there on Saturday night. But after all that waiting, who actually finally scored the first goal since the lockdown? Is it Sergio Aguero, David Luiz, Marcus Rashford, or Raheem Sterling? Round 5, question 1. Who scored the very first goal of the return of the Premier League season? Try to work out which game it was as well. That's another kind of clue to that. David Luiz, Sergio Aguero, Raheem Sterling, or Marcus Rashford? Round 5, question number 2. Where was this year's Olympic Games meant to have taken place? Is it Beijing, Tokyo, Singapore, or Seoul? Funnily enough, me and my dad were out there, and my dad bought a t-shirt with 2020 on it. And that's going to be worth quite a bit of... Well, I'm not saying worth a lot of money, but it'll be interesting. Will we... You know, when they have the Olympics next year in this place, will they still call it that, or just it'll be with an asterisk, such and such 2020 asterisk? It's actually meant to be happening last year, but it didn't. But you have to feel for all those athletes who've been preparing 4 years for this particular event, and if all to be pushed back. But where will the next Olympics be held? Singapore, Beijing, Tokyo, or Seoul? Round 5, question 2. Coming up, round 5, question 3. So another postponed tournament. This one, the Euro 2020 football tournament. In which city was this year's Euro 2020 final meant to have taken place? Now, interestingly, because it was meant to celebrate the anniversary of the actual games, it was the 60th anniversary, I believe, of the European Championships. It's kind of like a mini World Cup, except with, you know, all the European countries. They decided to have the tournament in different cities and different countries to kind of just celebrate that kind of unity. And they had various countries all picked up. There's even going to be some of the games played in Ireland in the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. But yes, the final itself and the semi-finals were meant to take place in which city? Is it Paris, Berlin, London, or Rome? And of course, if it's going to be a final, it's going to be a big, big stadium. So which of those has the biggest stadium, you have to ask yourself. Which city was this year's Euro 2020 final meant to have taken place? Rome, Berlin, London, or Paris? Round 5, question 4. This is an interesting one. I was actually learning about this the other day. But which sport mixes cross-country skiing and shooting? It's a Winter Olympic sport, and basically involves, like I said, cross-country skiing. So the skiers have to go do a course cross-country, and they have a rifle on their backs, like this very light shooting rifle. And when they turn up at at one point, they all line up at targets, and the goal is to get a fast time and to score so many hits on the targets. So what is that sport called? It's a mixture of 2 sports, so that could give you a clue about what this is called. Is it triathlon, pentathlon, heptathlon, or biathlon? Think about it. 2 sports, right? And think the roots of those words there: triathlon, biathlon, pentathlon, heptathlon. Think about sides of, like say a triangle or pentagram, or pentangle, or hexagon. You know where I'm going with this. But which sport mixes cross-country skiing and shooting? It's called something. Is it biathlon, triathlon, pentathlon, or heptathlon? Round 5, question 5. Which famous UK skating duo won gold in the 1984 Olympics, the Winter Olympics? So I've got 4 options for you here: Siegfried and Roy, Chaz and Dave, Torval and Dean, or Cannon and Ball. If you watch, I think the celebrities on Dancing on Ice, I think they're fairly prominent in that. They're still going. I actually saw them perform at the Waterfront Hall the King's Hall in Belfast years and years ago, and they did the famous rendition of their performance at that particular Olympics. But I'm looking for the name of the 2 skaters: Chaz and Dave, Siegfried and Roy, Torval and Dean, or Cannon and Ball. You probably work out which one it is from kind of substituting from those. And your final sports question of this afternoon on the Big Nerd Kids Quiz: which football team is currently at the bottom of the Premier League? So who's definitely going down next season? Norwich, West Ham, Aston Villa, Bournemouth. Those teams are all down there. But who's at the very, very bottom? Who's rooted at the very bottom? Norwich, Villa, West Ham, Bournemouth. So the Canaries, the Hammers, Villa, or the Cherries. And there is your roundup, your final sports roundup there. So who scored the first goal at the return of the Premier League season? Number 2, where is this year's Olympic Games meant to have taken place? 3, in which city was this year's Euros meant to have taken place? The finals, that is. Which sports mixes cross-country skiing and shooting? 5, which famous UK skating duo won in 1984 in the 1984 Olympics? And finally, which football team is currently bottom of the Premier League? Alright, so that leaves us with one more round to go. So one more round, 6 questions. And because last night was James Bond, I thought we would do a James Bond round. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll all get some of these. These are some really basic questions about the world's famous super spy, which I used to love watching growing up. They used to always play at Christmas and and you probably know them play the James Bond games for the N64 and everything like that. That's quite an old console. You probably haven't played it. But anyway, here we go. So 6 questions all about 007, the famous agent. So, very basic question. Round 6, question 1. Who wrote the James Bond spy novels? So, who wrote the James Bond books? Stephen King, Ian Fleming, John Grisham, or Robert Ludlum? So, who wrote the James Bond spy novels? He actually worked for British intelligence himself and was quite a big spy. So, I think they based James Bond pretty much on him. But I'm looking for the name of the writer who wrote the James Bond books. Stephen King, Ian Fleming, John Grisham, or Robert Ludlum. Round 6, question number 2. Who's James Bond's boss? Famously played by Judi Dench, Dame Judi Dench. Is it T, M, or S? Now, they all have a code name. And actually, this is apparently was the official code name of the head of the UK Secret Service for many years. But who is James Bond's boss? Okay, so next question. So who gives James Bond his gadgets? So yes, what's the code name given to the person who gives James Bond his gadgets? We all know James Bond with his famous gadgets. He's got like lasers in watches, and he's got jet skis, and you know, all sorts of mad things to make happen. Like it's funny now, like, you know, a lot of the things that we consider like really like cool for super spies, like mini cameras and everything like that, we've all got on our phones now. So very, very basic. Round 6, question 3. Who gives James Bond his gadgets? P, Q, Z, or K? Famously now played by Ben Whishaw, who does the voice of Paddington. It's great. Round 6, question 4. How does James Bond like to have his martini? It's vodka martini. He always has his drink. He's very fond of the old drink. But how does he take it? Dry, not wet. Small, not large. Shaken, not stirred. Or neat, no ice. So, how does James Bond like his martini? His vodka martini. Dry, not wet. Small, not large. Shaken, not stirred. Or neat, no ice. Here comes your penultimate question. So, what make of car does James Bond like to drive in the latest movies? So, in the latest series of movies, James Bond's driven a load of different types of cars, but recently he's gone back to a particular type of model that he likes to drive. But what make of car does James Bond like to drive in the latest series of James Bond films? Is it Ferrari, Aston Martin, Lamborghini, or Ford Mustang? I actually have to show you here. This is a very old model of a James Bond car with all its gadgets. First of all, if you do this here, it's got Ford battering ram and machine guns. It's got a bulletproof rear shield, and check this out, it's also got a ejector seat. Yeah, it's such a cool toy. It's like one of the biggest selling original James Bond toys, and I have a couple of these, including the other one I have is the submarine car, the very famous submarine car from The Spy Who Loved Me. This is the one that goes underwater. It's got the wings and the machines. And obviously the big 007 there. Because, you know, you got to know it's James Bond driving the car. Sure, make it obvious. Anyway, well, I'm looking for the make of cars that James Bond likes to drive. Ferrari, Aston Martin, Lamborghini, or Ford Mustang. And here's your final question here. I hope if you get it right, hit submit and you'll get all your answers at the very end of the quiz. So here we go. Round 6, question 6. In which country is James Bond's family home of Skyfall? Is it Wales, Scotland, Norway, or France? Okay, guys, hit submit. You'll start getting your scores immediately, and then I'll be able to give you all the answers right away, straight after this. But I'm looking for the country that James Bond's family home is in the film Skyfall. Is it Scotland, Wales, Norway, or France? All right. So yes, good to see all the submissions coming in. Do stick about here to see the very end of the actual quiz itself. Here's a quick roundup of all the James Bond questions. So who wrote this James Bond spy novels? Who is James Bond's boss? Who gives James Bond his gadgets? How does James Bond like his martini? What make of car does James Bond like to drive in the latest Bond movies? And which country is his family home of Skyfall? Alright, so that's it for Big Nerd Kids Quiz this afternoon. Hope you've all enjoyed it. Well, no, we're not going anywhere just yet. Here's the answers for today's quiz. And hope you all did well. Let me know how you did in the comments. Let me know. Get in touch via Facebook and Instagram or Twitter. Let me know how you got on and where you're playing. So anyway, here are your answers for today's Big Nerd Pub Quiz. The final letter in the Greek alphabet is Omega. There are 3 zeros in 1000. The 5th of November is the day which Bonfire Night is celebrated. Boots is the name of the monkey. It's friends with Dora the Explorer. And St. David is the patron saint of Wales. Science and nature questions. The orangey bit is called the yolk. So how do you like your yolk? I like it hard and sometimes runny. Evergreen is the type of tree. Light is faster than sound. So yes, when you see a fireworks explode, you see it first and then you hear it. Nemo is a clownfish. 8? I forget which one is 8. I'm going to have to go back to these questions. 8. Oh yeah, there are 8 planets in the solar system, yes. Not including Pluto. Pluto's not a planet anymore. A pen is a female swan. Dragon is on the flag of Wales. South America is where the rainforests are located. Cornwall is where Land's End is. And the top of Britain is called John O'Groats. Crete is the largest Greek island. And Prague is the capital of the Czech Republic. Your politics questions. So, House of Lords is where the red seats are. Larry the Cat is the official mouser of number 10. The Liberal Democrats' colour is yellow. It's the Speaker of the House of Commons who goes, order, order. Tony Blair was the Prime Minister at the start of the 21st century, and 6 wives Henry VIII had. Your sports questions there. Raheem Sterling scored the first goal of the return of the Premier League. Tokyo is where the Olympics were meant to have been held. London is where the final of Euro 2020 was meant to be held in Wembley, which will be put back to next year. Biathlon is the name of the sport given to the shooting and cross-country skiing. So that's what I was trying to tell you. It's biathlon. Torval and Dean were the figure skaters who captured the public's imagination in the 1980s. And Norwich is at the bottom of the Premier League. And your final roundup here. Ian Fleming wrote the James Bond books. M is James Bond's boss. Q gives him his gadgets. He likes his vodka martini shaken not stirred. Drives an Aston Martin. And his family are from Scotland. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me here today on the Big Nerd Kids Quiz. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you're enjoying the quiz, please do share it with your family and friends. Let them know all about it. Like, we've got tons of quizzes coming up over the next couple of weeks. And like I said, I'm going to readjust the schedule to fit in with the football. Like, I know I want to watch some of the games too, and I kind of want to make them fun for everybody, and so everyone get a chance. So I may move some of the quizzes back to a later time. Keep an eye on all the social media channels for any changes in times. Normally, as always, we go out at 8 o'clock for the main quizzes. But just in case, keep an eye on the social media channels. Big Nerd 2000s quiz coming up this Wednesday. And don't forget to check out my radio show every weekday morning, 8 a.m. And thanks very much for taking the time to play the quiz. Really, really do appreciate all your support and kind words and feedback. Thanks again for playing. We'll see you all tomorrow for the 2000s Naughties quiz if you can. Don't forget to replay any of the quizzes online. And the general knowledge quiz on Saturday at 8, where you could have a chance to win some prizes. But yes, there's all the links there. So yes, thank you very much for playing this afternoon, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.